There's always debate around Bruce Willis's Die Hard, and I don't understand why this is debated so widely. People take this very seriously, but the idea of, is Die Hard a Christmas movie because it takes place at the same time as Christmas, and there are small Christmas elements in it that the movie doesn't focus on. So is it a Christmas movie or not? What is a Christmas movie? This is always a question. It's like, is it a thing that takes place around that time, or does it have to be a holiday special type movie where it is just the focus, or maybe a holiday special type TV episode where it is just the focus is Christmas or whatever holiday? Well, I thought I was the first person to think of this, but apparently I'm not. Probably not the first person to think of almost anything, but I was going through some old movies, and to quote Peter Parker, something looked a little familiar. That was Spider-Man 1. Well, in the same vein as Die Hard being a Christmas movie, I wanted to take a look at Spider-Man 1 from Sam Raimi, which is not a Christmas movie, but it does take place partially on Thanksgiving. And it's not just a minor scene that takes place on Thanksgiving, it is probably the pivotal turning point of the entire movie that sets up the entire final confrontation between Spider-Man and Green Goblin. Now, I will completely admit here, because somebody in the comments is going to say, "You stole this idea from X person." I thought that I might have been the first person to think of this. I looked it up because I was like, well, I don't really want to steal anyone's thunder. And of course, other people have talked about this before. I didn't know that, and to be honest, I didn't watch their videos because I didn't want to or feel like it. But I do think it's an interesting idea because this is always such a debate among moviegoers, gamers, etc. as what is a holiday movie. And I'm not really here to make the case that this movie is focused solely on Thanksgiving. I just think it's a really fun movie to watch on Thanksgiving. Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, he just finishes up with a confrontation with Green Goblin. He's still actually bleeding a little bit, and he goes back to his flat, I would say, or his apartment, whatever you want to call it, in New York that he has with Harry, and he's actually going back to Thanksgiving dinner. Everybody else is already there. They're actually waiting for him, and they don't really know where he is, but they hear a noise up in his room, and they just head in there, to see, okay, what was that? And they don't see anything because Spider-Man is hanging out on the ceiling. This is a scene I'm sure you're familiar with if you've watched the Raimi movies before. For some reason as a kid, I knew it was Thanksgiving, but the connection really it never stood out to me. I don't know why. It never stood out to me in that way. Whereas watching a movie like Die Hard, the Christmas idea stood out to me just because I find a lot of Christmas movies really boring. Like when your whole thing is just give gifts, be happy, it gets a little repetitive. Except for the Santa Claus. Those movies are awesome. But for Spider-Man, I thought this was really interesting because this whole scene, it really does tie the entire movie together. It's not some throwaway thing because Peter accidentally drops blood from his arm, which was where he was cut by Norman, the Green Goblin, during the movie. And then Norman turns around and he sees it hit the floor. Well, he heard it hit the floor and turns around. And then he looks up thinking, oh, Spider-Man must be here. He must have followed me. And you can kind of see this change in Norman's face, which I think really goes to show the acting range as well of Willem Dafoe. I don't think anybody needs to justify his acting range, but it is just incredible how he can kind of switch on the drop of a hat like that between playing the persona of Norman Osborn and then playing the persona of the Green Goblin. And he kind of goes and looks out the window. He's looking around, but Peter is hiding under this awning, under this small balcony, and he knows that someone is up there looking out at him. And it's this short moment, but it is so filled with tension. It's probably one of the most tense and dramatic moments in the entire Raimi Spider-Man trilogy that then transitions into Thanksgiving dinner, and of course gave us the iconic line, "Sorry I'm late, I had to beat an old lady with a stick to get this cranberry sauce," a line that for some reason I still find myself quoting today at the end of 2023 to random situations. I guess I would fit in very, very well in the Raimi Spider-Man Reddit. But one thing I love about this scene is that it transitions into an entire dramatic Thanksgiving dinner that should be just something that's fun and whimsical, and it's just people, hanging out, carving turkey, doing their thing, but it actually adds to the themes of this movie so well. And it is kind of genuinely disturbing because of what we, the audience, know while having watched the movie to this point. We know that Norman is struggling with this alternate persona of the Green Goblin. We know that Peter is trying to balance his life as both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And we know that there is relationship drama between Mary Jane and Harry that has been going on since, I would say, the end of the first act of the film. You know, where they kind of got together, but she clearly wasn't fully into him, and he was just head over heels for her at the time. But it wasn't working out. That said, it was a schism a little bit in the friendship of Harry Osborn and Peter Parker, because Peter felt that Harry was dishonest with him. Harry knew that, Peter liked MJ, and Harry did as well. But in his words to Peter, you never made a move. So Harry thought, well, I'll make my own move. But all of these tensions build up to this one scene, which is what I think makes this scene so powerful and stand out so much. It's not just some throwaway scene, like, oh, look, Christmas tree in the foyer. It's a Christmas movie. It's not really something like that. Even though this is a short scene, it is the boiling point of almost every interpersonal conflict in the movie. It is Aunt May trying to still relate to and be a part of Peter's life and hold this small family together. It's Norman Osborn trying to spend time with his son, who he feels like he neglected off and on for his entire life. It's Harry trying to prove himself to his father by bringing a beautiful girl to dinner and making something of himself, but also having these relationship issues with that girl during the dinner. It's Peter trying to balance two lives and Norman trying to balance two lives, and their conflict that they've had multiple times on screen to this point, with multiple confrontations as Spider-Man and the Green Goblin, coming to a head as Norman takes the knife to carve the turkey, and you see kind of a maniacal look on his face, like a sadistic look when he's carving this turkey. It's such a packed scene. I'm sure somebody has already analyzed it to death. Like I said, I didn't watch any of the other videos about this. I didn't really even read the Reddit posts. I skimmed one of them and I was like, oh cool, somebody already brought this up. But I thought it was so interesting that this small scene that ties this whole movie together is Thanksgiving. It is supposed to be a dinner that holds this small makeshift family together, but instead all of these boiling points, they explode, and instead it pretty much tears it apart. Norman storms off to do something else, really because he figures out that Peter is probably Spider-Man. Harry tries to follow his dad, but he's basically shot down. Harry comes back and he externalizes his own frustration at Mary Jane, who then leaves. And then it's just kind of left with Harry, Peter, and of course, Aunt May. And this whole dinner has just completely fallen apart, much like the life of Peter did, partially because of this spider. It's always interesting to me to dissect a scene a little bit. Maybe it's a scene in a book, maybe it's a scene in a game or a scene in a movie, and kind of look at how it impacts the overall plot. And this was the crux of the movie of Spider-Man. I would argue that this scene is one of the most powerful and one of the biggest focuses of the movie, because the entire rest of the movie happens just because of Norman seeing this cut on Peter's arm at the dinner table at Thanksgiving. It then goes on to tear apart the Osborn family by leaving Harry without any parents after the tragic passing of Norman at his own glider because of his own desire to kill Spider-Man, or I should say the Green Goblin's desire to kill Spider-Man. It leaves Peter feeling distraught, feeling disconnected from his friend Harry, feeling like he has to keep secrets from his aunt, Harry and MJ, and he can't possibly open up to them now, even going as far as to reject Mary Jane in this final scene to try and keep her safe. I really enjoy how so much of this movie hinges just on the small idea of Thanksgiving. This one family get-together that was supposed to tie everybody together ends up sort of tearing the cast apart by the end of the film, and even in the next movie, in Spider-Man 2, when they get back together, you can tell it's a little more awkward. You know, when they're trying to celebrate Peter's birthday, it's just a little more disjointed. You know, Mary Jane is still feeling the effects of this Thanksgiving dinner. She still doesn't know what to think of Peter. She's his friend, but he's distant. He's unavailable. He has made himself that. Harry is now distraught and wanting vengeance for his father, and Aunt May's just kind of caught in the middle of it. And all of that stuff, a lot of these conflicts, they go back to the fact that Peter didn't wear a dang Band-Aid at Thanksgiving dinner. So I just wanted to talk about this for a few minutes because I think it's really fun to take a look at scenes like this and to talk about, I don't know, movies that I enjoy, especially Spider-Man stuff. It's very fun for me. I'm interested to hear what you think in the comments down below. I wanted this video to be shorter. I know that it's probably not going to get very many views because it is Thanksgiving, but sometimes people don't have a lot to do on this day. I've been there for a lot of years. So I do hope that you enjoyed it if you watch it. If you watch it the next day or whatever, I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. If it is Thanksgiving for you, I still hope you have a good day. I know this day means different things to different people, but I choose to try and celebrate this day as a day to look back at the people and things that have made my life better, the things that I am thankful for. One of those things is you, and one of those things is the loved ones directly in my life. So thank you for being a part of that. I hope you have a fantastic day. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. And as always, everyone, stay shway.